Here's a quick little tip for finding your Georgia ancestors in land records and potentially much more about them with FamilySearch's new AI search. And this is not just searching their name. First of all, one thing we're really lucky about in Georgia is that the majority of our land was distributed by land lottery. So see this farm-raised salmon-colored kind of bit of land in the eastern part of Georgia? That's actually the only part of modern Georgia that was not distributed by land lottery. So why does that make us lucky? Well, long story short, to hold a lottery, you have to number the lots of land that you're giving away. So even to this day, when you're looking at a deed in a land lottery area, you're going to see that it almost always is described by its district and land lot number originating back to those lotteries. So let me say that again. Every bit of lottery land in Georgia has a corresponding number, and this is awesome for us. So there's that. And then we also know that earlier this year, FamilySearch released their beta of their full text AI search, and it is just utterly amazing. People are making all kinds of discoveries. Basically, it uses AI to transcribe all their unindexed land and probate records that FamilySearch has collected over the years. When before you had to go page by page through all these unindexed deed books or probate records, now you can do a keyword search, a name perhaps, and find your ancestor. It's really, really cool. All right, so what's this big fancy tip? Well, first of all, nobody said you only have to put names in this search box. You can actually use FamilySearch's AI to search these land lot numbers. So see, here's what happened when I put in just the land lot number 275 and narrowed it down to the county where I know the land is now, which is Forsyth County, Georgia. Long story short here, the reason I'm doing this is I know an ancestor bought some land around 1853 because I know he sold it later. But I cannot find the transaction where he bought it recorded anywhere. He's a brick wall, so I'm hoping if I figure out who he bought his land from, that'll help me figure out where he came from, who his parents were. And after I did this search, look, in just the first 4 search returns, I already have 2 promising leads. Now I clicked that top one, it turned out to be in District 1, not District 3, so it wasn't my land lot. But the one at the bottom turned out to be a transaction selling the land lot I'm looking for in 1837, and suddenly now I am one step closer in tracing the chain of title for that land lot. And that's all there is to it. You can search land lot numbers, and that is a new and different way to find your ancestors where you may not have been able to find them before. But as always, there are some pit traps that you can fall in when it comes to using this methodology. First, you'll need to know and understand the land lot numbers. Now, if you don't know anything about your ancestor, including where they might have owned land, then you're not going to be able to use this because you don't have a land lot number yet. Something else you need to understand is how the land lotteries worked. There were 8 different land lotteries, and a lot of times they would use the same district and land lot numbers. So for example, perhaps 5 of those lotteries had a District 14 and land lot 100. So if you don't know in which land lottery your ancestor's land was originally distributed, then you're not going to know which counties to narrow that down to. So that map I showed you earlier, that'll help with this. And there's also a great book called Georgia Land Lottery Research by Paul K. Graham that will help you figure that out. And I'll link to both in the description of this video. You'll also need to be cautious narrowing down locations too much. In those examples I showed you, I was looking at Forsyth County, Georgia. But Forsyth County was originally part of a great big Cherokee County. So if we're just looking at Forsyth County, we may miss our land lot. So make sure you know the history of the county that you're looking in because those records may be elsewhere. And another thing that you just have to know about the land lotteries in general is rich guys from the eastern, more settled part of the state would buy up lands, and sometimes you'll find them transacting in land back home in Chatham County where Savannah is, or Baldwin County where Milledgeville is, because they really had no intention of ever moving out west to an unsettled frontier. They just wanted to make a buck. And that's why you should always have a plan for what you're going to search before you just start randomly clicking around. You should also experiment. You'll notice that I only searched the land lot number. Now, there are other options here. Land lottery land was usually divided into 2 parts. There would be a big district, and then within that district, there would be smaller land lots. So, for example, you have the 21st district and land lot 301. Or in my part of Georgia, the Cherokee cession was so vast, it was divided into large parts called sections, then slightly smaller parts called districts, and then smaller land lots. And for whatever reason, see where I have a circle by keywords up here on the top right? For whatever reason, most clerks, when they were writing out the land description, In deed books, they would record the district number first and then the section, even though the section is bigger. That was just a convention of the day. So again, that's why you have to do your research to understand, that's how they would write it out. However, when I put this in, this is the way the clerks write it. They typically write 3-1-275. But when I put that in quotations or without, it really didn't help me much. I didn't get very good results. That's why I decided just to put the number 275 instead. Now, if I just put a number like 275, of course, I get a lot of page numbers and things like that, but that's okay. I can generally weed those out. Also, just know that the transcription is not perfect. You are not doing reasonably exhaustive research if all you're doing is putting some keywords into a search bar. This is a random one I looked at. It looks like this is possibly maybe an estate sale or something to do with an estate. But you can see amount forwarded instead of forwarded. And then we have Dr. P.T. Wask, W-A-S-K. I'm guessing his last name wasn't Wask. I mean, it may have been. I don't know. But that just lets you know that everything's not going to be perfect. Even as great as this new feature is, it's probably not going to find your ancestor every single time. And last but not least, this is only going to search those publicly available records on FamilySearch. You've probably, if you're a big FamilySearch user, you have noticed that you will run into these record sets that are locked. They have a little key above them. And that usually means you need to go to either a FamilySearch affiliated library, a FamilySearch center, or the Family History Library in Salt Lake City in order to view those records. And that's not anything FamilySearch did. It's just when they made the contract with the locality who actually owns those records, the locality, it could be the county or state or whatnot, that locality said, we don't want these public to everybody. So again, you are not seeing everything unless you go to a FamilySearch center or the Family History Library. Oh man, all right, I hope this was helpful. This has been really great for me so far, searching these land lot numbers. Now, if you were a little bit lost during this, I get it. Georgia land records are difficult. I do an entire hour-long presentation on making the most of Georgia land records, so if you want to see that, sign up for my mailing list for updates on the next time I'm giving it. I'm giving it in person a lot, so if you're not in North Georgia, you may not see it soon, but I'm hoping to also give it online again here soon. All right, now good luck going out there and finding your ancestors using their land lot numbers, and please report back because I'd love to hear what you find.